Hello. Welcome to this new YouTube video or a blog post. It depends on where you're watching this. And today, we're going to talk about the newest Batman movie to be released, The Batman, which is the first Batman solo movie released since The Dark Knight Rises, which was released in 2012. That's like almost 8 years ago. Don't fact check that. I don't know if that's true. So anyway, this movie stars a professional vampire and professional wizard death, Robert Pattinson as the Dark Knight himself. And this movie takes place a little bit early in Batman's career. So he's still establishing himself, a name for himself. And this Batman is more like a myth than the hero we think about when he's mentioned. So anyways, let's get to the reasons why this movie, The Batman, is my personal favorite Batman movie of all time. So, let's start with the story. The premise is pretty simple, but the execution is nearly flawless. There's not a single part of the story that felt boring or cliche. Some people say the third act is underwhelming or worse than the first and second one, but I disagree. I think all the three acts are on a scale of good to amazing. The first act is mostly used to introduce us to this version of Gotham, which we will talk much more about when we get to the cinematography section of the review. The second act is where things really start to pick up steam. When the Riddler starts killing off Gotham's corrupt leaders and exposing their secrets to Gotham. In these acts, we also get little tidbits about Bruce's past and how he thinks he can only fix Gotham by being Batman and not Bruce Wayne. And he also thinks that he needs to do everything alone and doesn't need help. And I think he does this because he doesn't want to experience the pain of losing someone close to him, which he experienced when losing his parents. We'll get into more detail once we get to the character section of the video. And the final act, everything comes together, and everything that wasn't revealed in the second act was revealed. And the eventual conclusion of the movie is pretty satisfying. And that final cameo, I was not expecting. Well, I actually was expecting it, but not so soon. And we don't even get to see his face. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, let's go on to the next topic of discussion. The characters. All the characters in this movie are amazing and portrayed expertly by their respective actors. But I really want to focus and talk about the main villain, the Riddler. The Riddler in this movie is terrifying. He's such an effective villain. And something amazing about him is that he actually ends up winning in the end. Even though he ends up behind bars in Arkham Asylum, he achieved his goal of exposing Gotham's secrets. And he also was able to explode the seawalls, which is also one of his goals. So really, he's the winner here. And something else that makes a great villain is that when you can sort of agree with him, and it's exactly like this with the Riddler. He wants people to see the corruption in Gotham's past and present. And this is kind of justified. You can see where he's coming from, and you understand why he does the things he does. I mean, it doesn't completely justify what he did throughout the movie, but still. So now, let's talk about the Cape Crusader himself, Batman. Batman in this movie is flawed. He's much more brutal in this movie, because he hasn't yet become a true hero. He also makes several mistakes. Some of them are some very dumb mistakes, like connecting the word rata alada to stool pigeon, which anyone who knows Spanish means winged rat. Rata, rat, alada, winged rat, which in turn means bat. And I don't know why they didn't come to this conclusion in the first place. Even I, who am not very smart, came to that conclusion. Another thing about him that people are complaining about is that he feels too dark and edgy and emo. But I disagree. I think this perfectly fits the version of Batman. This Batman is a nocturnal animal. Because he never is Bruce Wayne. He never goes out in the day and just spends all day in his man cave. Side note, I love that allegory of the Bat Cave being his man cave. It's so funny. And he just goes out to become the Batman. He doesn't never attend meetings. Like he says in the movie when Alfred tells him, "Oh, you have a meeting." And Bruce's like, "Really? They have to come here?" And Alfred states that they're coming here because he never wants to go out. And that's actually something really, really interesting in this movie. So now let's talk a bit about the movie's side characters like Catwoman and the Penguin, for example. And I want to start with Catwoman. The way Catwoman is portrayed in this movie is really interesting. and I was invested in the mystery of what happened to Annika, which is her friend who came to know a bit too much about the dealings between the Major and the drug lord Carmine Falcone. So Catwoman's main goal in this movie is to find Annika, and first she finds her dead body, which was, 1, owned by a corrupt cop named Kenzie, and 2, outside of a building where the Penguin was doing some drops business. And like drops are drugs in the form of like eye drops that people with contact lenses use if they get to dry the contacts. After Catwoman finds Annika's body, she wants to take revenge on Kenzie and finds out at the same time as the viewer that it was Kenzie and Falcone that killed Annika for knowing too much, which we actually get to know through this brutal audio where we see that they strangled her, and that it's very, very brutal. And Catwoman obviously wants to kill Kenzie for what he's done, but Batman stops her since he doesn't kill. And on the topic of the relationship that Batman and Catwoman have, the relationship they have is really interesting. Because Catwoman thinks that they should kill their enemy when they have the chance, so they don't bother them anymore. But Batman doesn't kill, leading to this very, very interesting conflict between the two of them. Even so, at the end of the movie, they go their separate ways, with Catwoman moving to the city of Bloodhaven. And they don't stay together, and there's no this romantic thing. I mean, there is a kiss, but they clearly have separate ideas. And it's very interesting because a normal cliche movie would just make them make up and live together or some other crappy explanation. But this is a very, very, very cool. And now let's talk about Penguin, who is one of the many side characters in the Batman, because there's a lot of them. And the way this movie portrays him is really interesting, because most Batman stories have them being this dwarf with a goofy eye lens, and he's mostly never taken seriously. But in this movie, he is. He portrays this menacing villain who knows the in and outs of Gotham's drug trade and corruption. He also looks really good in the movie. I like the prosthetic scars they gave him. I think they look really cool. And maybe because I'm weird and I like prosthetic scars, I like scars in general. If I had one across my eye, I would not complain because that would be cool as hell. But yeah, maybe that. Now, let's talk, oh boy, about my favorite aspect of the movie. The cinematography. This movie, the way it's shot is absolutely incredible. And some of my favorite shots in the movie is when the camera is zoomed in on one of the characters' faces, and when the camera shows the villain/hero in the shadows or in the foreground, and when the camera is attached to the person so I can see what they see, from their perspective. And finally, my favorite is when the camera is attached to the side of the car, which gives me an excuse, like I said, to talk about my favorite scene in the whole movie, the car chase. The way that sequence is shot is absolutely incredible. And instead of getting an empty, clean highway with a bird's eye view of the scene, very, very clean, Matt Reeves, the director, shoots the scene in a highway with heavy traffic and heavy rain falling, making the scene more exciting and enthralling, since they have to focus on where their opponent is and to be careful not to crash because of the traffic and the rain. This is even more enhanced by the audio, with the music being very epic and expertly crafted. And it's enhanced even more thanks to the sound of the roaring exposed engine of the Batmobile. Sometimes the music cuts off intentionally, and what we hear is the sound of heavy rain and the roaring of the engines of the vehicles, and it's so damn cool and engaging. And also, sometimes the camera stays behind the character for a time, or we see what they see, like I mentioned before. And it's really cool. Like the beginning, when they're investigating the mayor's death at the crime scene. It started with us seeing what Batman is seeing, looking at all the cops who are clearly very nervous of him. I also love the shots at the beginning when the police helicopter lights shine on the criminals doing whatever crime they're doing. And when they look up, the helicopter just moves past and they see the bat signal. And then they look into the shadows, expecting Batman to appear. But he doesn't. And the first 2 times, it's a fake out. Until, on the train, with the men in the clown makeup, he finally steps out of the shadows, his heavy boots clamping against the floor. And on topic of that, let's talk a little bit about the sound design. And this segment will be pretty brief, since I don't have much to say about sound design. I'm not an expert on that. And let's just say the sound design of this movie is pretty rad. One I want to focus on, where the sound design is really, really good, is this movie's version of the hallway scene from Rogue One. And I think everyone who's watched this knows what that is. That scene is so good. And also this one. And where it's just this dark hallway. And you only see parts of the scene since it's pitch black. And it's only illuminated by the flashing gunfire. Which is also the only thing that makes the sound of this scene. There's no music or dialogue. There actually is dialogue, but it's just the screams and the fear that you hear in the criminals. So let's talk about the final topic of today's video, the marketing. The marketing for this movie is absolutely amazing. And why is it amazing, you ask? Because of one simple website, radaalada.com. This website progressively revealed more and more of the Riddler ciphers, which basically is alphabet, which now is only missing the letter J at the time of making this video. And while I did not participate in the decoding of these ciphers myself, because actually, sidetracking, I wasn't really interested in the movie. I saw people talking about it and being very excited for it, but personally, I was like, oh, cool, the new Batman movie. I'll see it when it comes out. But now I'm very, very obsessed with this movie. It's so good. Okay, so back on topic. Well, like I said, I did not participate in this stuff, but it was really cool decoding the things yourself, and this will conclude on, I think, March 6th, I'm not very sure, where you got to decipher some riddles, and if you did it, you got a zip file called Know What I Know, which has a lot of pictures that the Riddler would have probably used to expose Gotham secrets, like the crew took them. They're basically behind-the-scenes photos, if you understand what I mean. So, in conclusion, this movie is amazing. It may not hit the same highs as other DC movies like The Dark Knight, but this movie is consistently amazing, and I was never, ever bored of it. It is my favorite DC movie and my third favorite movie of all time. I am just behind No Way Home and Spider-Verse. No movies will ever top those masterpieces. Maybe the second one, but I don't know. And I could rewatch this movie over and over and over and over again and never get tired of it, and probably find new details every time I watch it. This movie might even be the gold standard for superhero movies, and it deserves it, and it should wear it like a badge of honor. So, thanks for watching this video, and okay, no Patreons, because I'm small, and I have no Patreons. So, thanks for watching, thanks for taking this 13-ish minutes out of your day to watch this probably very bad review of The Batman. And thanks for watching. See you next time.